So there's a new trend of playing with numbers to get the desired outcome coming from the White House. We've seen this on other issues, and now we see it on perhaps the most important issue. The White House was not happy with a report that warned his new energy policy would cause an additional 1,400 premature deaths, so it instructed the Environmental Protection Agency to change the math. And, according to a report from the New York Times, the EPA complied. Holy shit. The Times reports that the EPA is planning to introduce a new way of calculating the future health risks of air pollution in order to push through Trump's Affordable Clean Energy rule after the initial analysis was unpalatable. The new calculus will make it appear that the number of additional deaths will be significantly less than 1,400, even though there has been no change to the proposed legislation. The method has not been peer-reviewed, is not scientifically sound. Sources inside the EPA told the Times. Okay. So we just saw this when it comes to poverty. They want to change the poverty line or the way that they want to basically do a chain CPI for the poverty line. So the increase in the poverty line happens at a slower rate, therefore kicking off of the social safety net many more people. So that's one reason they want to do it. I think the other reason they want to do it is it gives Trump a brag line. Under my administration, we have reduced poverty by, fill in the blank. And it's like, well, actually, no, you just changed how poverty's calculated. So you weren't lifting people out of poverty. You just said poverty's a lower line now. So it's playing with numbers to get the desired outcome and to pretend like, you're kicking ass on the economy. And it's really obnoxious because it also works. It also works because then you'll hear these lines parroted in conservative media of like, oh, he lifted X amount of people out of poverty. What they do today is they use the stock market and the unemployment rate as like, oh, see, the economy's doing wonderful. The stock market's doing great and the unemployment rate is low. But again, the stock market is really a reflection of how corporations are doing, not a reflection of how people are doing. And the unemployment rate, while it's relatively low, it's not the 3 whatever number that they're citing. The U6 unemployment is about 7 or so percent, 7.5%. So really, we need a top-down retooling of this economy and how we view what's a healthy economy and what's not. And actually, Andrew Yang has spoken about this quite a bit, and he makes very compelling points when he talks about, I forget what he calls it, but a new way of judging how people are doing. He wants like human-centered capitalism where instead of measuring how we're doing through GDP, for example, and how we're doing through the stock market, we measure it through a different lens where we get a more accurate reflection of how average people are doing. And I think that's incredibly important, and I think we should do that because right now, and Donald Trump's the biggest fraud of all because he used to cite the U6 unemployment number and say, actually, he didn't just cite that, he went higher than that. He would give a higher number than the U6 unemployment. And then now he goes to the traditional unemployment rate. Why? Because he's president, and he wants to make himself look good. So before he would say, unemployment's like 20-some-odd%. Now he cites the official number, and everybody knows the official number's bullshit. 3-point-whatever%. Nonsense. Utter nonsense. That disregards people who are, who've given up. That disregards people who are underemployed. That disregards people who are forced to work part-time even though they want to work full-time. Like, it's playing with the numbers to try to get the outcome you want so you can brag. And he'll, of course, take any nugget that's positive of him and run with it. And so what he's doing here, same thing, except for EPA numbers. Now, what a lot of people don't necessarily understand, they don't grasp it, it doesn't sink in, is that pollution kills. Pollution kills for sure. And instead of acknowledging that and coming up with a plan that doesn't lead to more deaths, they just pretend like, just change the methodology, change the way we measure this stuff, and I'll pretend like our plan does not lead to more deaths when it literally leads to more deaths. So just understand, they side with industry 10 out of 10 times. That's what the Trump administration does. They will side with industry 10 out of 10 times. They will deregulate and let them do whatever the fuck they want because they want those sweet, sweet campaign contributions. And if you give them the campaign contributions, they got your back, son. What do you want? You want deregulation? Sure. You want us to drop ongoing court cases against you like they did with the predatory payday loan industry? Sure. This is an administration that is totally beholden to the corporatocracy. And it's funny because in many ways Trump ran against that and pretended like he was the solution and Hillary was the status quo and Hillary was the sellout. And me, I'm above that, bro. I'm gonna bust this up. The average Joe and Jane will never be forgotten again. That he said stuff like that on the campaign trail and in his final ad. And it's beyond ridiculous. Because guess what? They've been forgotten. 100% they've been forgotten.